fresh made coffee. I do hope you can smell it, it really is yum. You know that lovely feeling of when you make some fresh coffee and it's just going nicely there. Then you put the plunger in and eventually you push it down. Makes lovely coffee, but it makes for a bad life when we depress things. Coffee plunger is a very, very good analogy for depression, because that's exactly what we do with our feelings, with our emotions, with all of the stuff inside that we haven't actually expressed or don't want to deal with. When we push the coffee plunger down, we push all of the grounds to the bottom. We allow the coffee itself, which is lovely, to come to the surface, and we'll enjoy that. But what remains down below is the really big issue. We can push the coffee down for quite a while, but if you've ever done like I have, forgotten to rinse it out later, and you come back a day or two later, and the coffee plunger is still pushed down with all the grounds at the bottom, they get a bit solidified. They're very hard to clean out, and they're very messy when you start to do so. Depression is disastrous in humans. When we push down the emotions, we not only push down the bad things, the things that we don't want to deal with, but we push down all of the good things as well. And if you've ever been in that depressed state, you'll know that life begins to turn a little bit grey. It loses its sparkle, it loses its vitality, because not only do we not feel the bad things anymore, we also don't feel the good things. Because as you can see with this coffee plunger, it's pushed down all the grounds. Not just the unpleasant ones, but everything. And that's exactly the same with our emotions. Push them all down to the bottom, and we're really stuck. After a time, there's no feelings, no emotions happening at all. We can't really enjoy life anymore, and it's very hard to get things moving. Just like the coffee grounds, which will actually consolidate after a couple of days being pushed down there and be impossible to get out. So our emotions will get stuck down there too. Why does this happen? Why do we get ourselves into such a mess? Well, very often from a very early age, we're told that emotions aren't always appropriate. You've seen it when you're a little kid. You're about to go off to Grandma's to visit, and you're in your new best clothes, and you fall over and graze your knee and you cry. And what does the adults around you say? Come on, there, stop that. Don't cry. You don't want Grandma to see you crying, do you? And so the little toddler gets the first lesson in suppressing the emotions. That some emotions are inappropriate, that some aren't good, that some emotions aren't acceptable, even if they're real. Even if they're real, they're still not appropriate to express. As we go through life, we compound those things. We continue to push things down. We add more and more emotions pushed down, like feeling bad about something when we didn't help somebody when we could have, like feeling guilty about something that could have been done differently, and we didn't. We add to that all of the little untruths and the little white lies. We learn those quite early on. Somebody rings up and you answer the phone, and somebody your mum doesn't want to talk to, and she says, "Tell them I'm not here." Oops. You learn very early on that, yeah, there's untruths that go on too. And they're part of the coffee grounds that get pushed right down to the bottom. So it's not surprising that by the time we hit our teenage years, there's quite a bit of emotion pushed down there. Now, we all know how fraught those adolescent years can be, how difficult it is to really know how life really works, particularly if you're excluded from the gang, particularly if things don't work the way you'd like them to, where you're not admired or acknowledged as much as the other person in the group. All of those feelings get pushed down there too, because you can't let anybody see that you're upset. It's just not on. And so over the years we add more and more to the coffee grounds, and we push the plunger down more and more. By the time we reach late teenage years, we start to add a few more things in. Bad decisions we've perhaps made, perhaps feelings that, coming up sexually that aren't always fitting the norm, perhaps things that we've not been proud of, and the things that we've done, or the things we've not done. And so more and more feelings are pushed down there, just like the coffee plunger. And there comes a time when the pressure builds up, when we think we're about to explode if we can't say something or do something about it. So then we look around for an outlet. Well, the obvious one is burst out in anger, but then that's not appropriate, particularly if you're supposed to be playing Happy Families. Probably not appropriate in the workplace either, you lose your job over it. So how are you going to cope and deal with all of these things that are pushed down? Alcohol eases the pressure a little. You can take a bit of the pressure off by having just a little bit too much to drink. It doesn't feel quite so bad then. And if some of those things slip out, well, you were drunk, so it didn't matter, did it? When somebody's drunk, you can't rely on what they're saying. But in point of fact, it's probably closer to the truth. Then there's also drugs. We call them recreational drugs. You could have some of those, and that would lighten up the pressure a little bit too. But when the effect wears off, the coffee plunger is still pushed down. So what are we going to do? How can we change this? What can we do that will make a difference? Fortunately, there are some things we can do. But a bit like cleaning the coffee pot, it's actually not always easy to pull up the plunger. Oops. It's messy. When we start to deal with the emotions that are being pushed down, it can get very messy. So ask for some help. A lot of people are in the same position you're in. A lot of people are feeling the same feelings you're feeling. A lot of people would like to help. First and foremost is to tell it like it is. Get it out. Get the coffee plunger out. Some professional help will make a big difference. And then get out and do something physical. Start doing some yoga. It's ideal for really letting go and bringing into balance some of those inner feelings. Go out and scream at the waves on the beach, or yell into the chasms up the mountain. Do something physical to activate things, to get the emotions moving again. Because once you claim that back, you'll find a huge amount of freedom and a huge amount of help. And then life will feel good again, and you can feel you're alive once more. Then you can